Okay, so hi everyone. Good evening. You're welcome to today's webinar. Today we'll be looking at episode 3 of Understanding the UN Ocean Decade, What's the Need for African ECOPs, and I'll be your host for today. Please, can you hear me? Yeah, okay. And the agenda for today's webinar is on why and how to engage in the UN Decade of Ocean Science as early career ocean professionals in Africa. And after that, we'll be having our first ECOP Africa general meeting. So before we start, a few housekeeping rules. Kindly use the Q&A and the chat box for your questions and the chat respectively. And also, you can also introduce yourselves using, once you see them on the screen, you just have about 1 minute max to answer, and then it will be off your screen. That being said, I will go on to introduce our first speaker for today. I'm guessing that will be Mr. Akpan, right? Dr. Nda? Yes, okay. So yeah, our first speaker for today is in the person of Mr. Anthony Akpan. He is the founder and president of Pan-African Vision for the Environment, also known as PAVE here in Africa. And professionally, he's an environmental management consultant. He holds a bachelor's degree in applied chemistry from the University of Uyo in Nigeria, and also obtained a postgraduate study diploma in water management with an area of interest in water service management from the Netherlands. And he has over 20 years sector experience in human ecology and sustainable development issues, spanning across NGO management, government, civil society, private sector, and international development agency relations. He's also a member of the All-Atlantic Ocean Multi-Stakeholder Platform that is dedicated to ocean citizen awareness and literacy of the AANCHOR coordination and support action with a funding from the EU Horizon 2020 Research and Innovation Program under grant agreement number of 818395. And he's also a member of the Nigerian National Ocean Decade Committee, that's the ECOPs focal person, and is currently working on establishing the ECOPs network here in Nigeria. So Mr. Anthony will be presenting today on understanding the African roadmap in UN Ocean Decade, a key necessity for ECOPs in Africa. Please, Mr. Akpan, you have the floor now, and you have 20 minutes for your presentation. And please note that 5 minutes before that time, I would interrupt you just to remind you of your time. Thank you. Please, you have the floor now.
Can you hear me? Thank you. You're supposed to run my presentation from your end. Can you hear me?
Oh, okay. Give me a minute. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to show it right now. Okay, so you should see my screen right now.
Yeah, can you put it on presentation mode?
Is that okay now?
No, put it on presentation mode.
Yeah, it's on presentation mode right now.
Slideshow.
Okay, it's.
You go to slideshow and you click.
That's what I can see from my end.
Okay, maybe it's still loading.
Okay, not to waste time. Anyway, hi. Good evening, everybody. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I
My
think
internet,
so.
the internet here is bad. That's why I had to send my presentation ahead so that I avoid all this hiccup, because internet here in Nigeria is from all this our telco, and we don't yet have this better. We don't do internet by speed. You know, they just subscribe to you, and sometimes it can be fast, sometimes it's not fast, and I've been having challenge lately. That's why I had to send in my presentation ahead. You know, having said that, and also I'm sure you're seeing just my picture, because with the video, it tends to, I mean, gives because of lagging in the voice. So it's my video is off. It's just my picture you will see. Apologies for that. Okay. Thank you for having me, and it's a great pleasure to participate in this third episode of this webinar series. So I'll be sharing very briefly on understanding the African roadmap in the UN Ocean Decade, a key necessity for ECOPs, because I think it's really key for us to understand what the African roadmap is in the overall UN decade, and why it's important for ECOPs in Africa. Next slide, please.
Please,
Hello.
Mr. Tony, I can see your title slide. I'm not sure why you can't see it from your end.
No, I'm seeing you, but you are not. The slide is not moving now. You are still on the first slide. That's why you've not gone to presentation mode. If you go to presentation mode, there's only one slide that will show on the screen, and you'll just be clicking next, and it will just be changing. So go to slideshow.
I think go to slideshow, the little screen at the bottom of the page next to the slider. If you click on that little button, it will take you to slideshow mode.
I'm not sure why. How about now?
No, it's still the same. Well, on my own system, the slideshow is supposed to be up. Where this page is showing, just look up the bar. There should be a slideshow button. There should be a slideshow button you should click. You click the slideshow. You click the slideshow, then you now tell you whether to start from the beginning or start from current slide. Okay. Well, meanwhile, while we are sorting that out, okay, here. Thank you. Now, this is the next one. Okay. So I'll just continue while we try to sort out those technicalities. Basically, while we try to look at the African roadmap, it is also important for us to understand what are the key ocean decade challenges, because the African roadmap are actions that tends to address the challenges. So it's good for us to also understand what the challenges are. You know, what are these challenges? So we have 10 ocean decade challenges that has been highlighted, and those challenges have been divided into three clear categories. You know, we have a first group of challenges, which we call knowledge and solution challenges. Then there's a second group of challenges, which is called infrastructure challenges, and also a third group of challenges, which is called foundational challenges. You know, so I'll just go briefly. I mean, on these areas, I couldn't really get any image to represent than the text, because I mean, image will misrepresent. Even in the UN decade document, there are no image to represent this. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, I think we can.
Yes, actually, I can hear you.
Okay, good. Yes.
We can hear you, Anthony.
Okay, so
I
these
think
are what I was talking about. Can you go back? Can you go back one step? Can you go back one step?
Yes.
No, you are. I mean the slide. Just go back one step. I was talking about the knowledge and the. Okay, you can leave it here, but you know the first. You are now in the. You are now in the knowledge in infrastructural challenges. So under this, let me continue from here. So under this, you have challenge 6, challenge 7, and challenge 8, and each of them speaks differently. Challenge 6 talks about the need for early warning system, the need for early warning system. Yeah. So what I was saying, where you have gone back to, leave it here, leave it here, leave it here. So channel 6, I mean, these are things, we have documents are there. Most of those documents we shared, these are there for us to read up. I just wanted to highlight that the challenges are divided into 3 clear categories. You know, the knowledge and solution challenge, the essential infrastructure challenges, and the um, foundational challenges. Next slide. Can you go to the next slide, please? Because I really want to dwell more on the African roadmap, but I just wanted, first of all, to highlight the challenges. Yes, foundational challenges. So for me, this is the most critical challenges that need to be addressed for us to begin to address those other essential infrastructure challenge and the knowledge and solution challenge. Because this challenge number 9 and number 10 talks about um, relating humanity, changing humanity's relation with ocean. If people don't understand what the ocean means to them and how the ocean functions in their life, they will not, that interest will not be there to want to address the other more technical challenges in terms of early warning system, data mining, and all those other bigger challenges. So this is really critical. That's why I talk about the need for ocean literacy, you know, to enable ECOPs and our youth to understand what is the relationship. Challenge 10 talks essentially ensure that the multiple values and services of the ocean for human well-being, culture, and sustainable development are widely understood, and identify and overcome barriers to behavior change required for a step change in humanity's relationship with the ocean. This is for me the major challenge, and that's why they call it is other foundation. Because if you don't address the foundation issue of any problem, it's difficult for you to address the higher issues. Just like if you want to build a house, if your foundation is not solid enough, you can't carry, I mean, a 2-story building or a 3-story building up there. So it's really critical for us to give more attention to these ocean literacy issues, to be able to connect people, to see the connection between their lives and the ocean. Next slide, please. Yes, thank you. So now, I like I said, I highlighted those areas so that we now come in to see the priority ocean decade actions for Africa. I mean, this was decided in the African launch event in May, and in Egypt. I mean, it's same place where the current COP is holding. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend in person, but I participated virtually. And 9 key issues was identified after a very long series of mapping, gap analysis, you know, that was led by so many eminent professors on the continent, you know. So it was narrowed down to 9 issues, which countries are now expected to develop their own actions around these 9 issues in the context of their various countries' culture and context. And the first one talks about sustainable ocean management in Africa. You know, so this one is there's need to strengthen data knowledge base and expertise required to develop and implement sustainable ocean plans in Africa. Where you have Africa now, you can easily put your country, So this will include innovative monitoring, coordinated and transboundary marine spatial planning plans, taking into account future socio-economic development pathways. This action will also focus on developing African capabilities and entrepreneurship in sustainable ocean economy sectors and tailored university programs and blue skills action, such as internship, institutional exchange programs, oriented to bridge employability and meeting the needs of industry and society. Next slide, please. So the next one talks about ocean and human health in Africa. This decade action is intended to strengthen data knowledge base and required to implement the action plan. This it's like repeating the same plans. Okay. Please go to the next slide. I think there was a mistake that I repeated what I had in the first part of this other one. Can you go to the next slide, please? Unlocking the blue carbon potential of Africa. Next slide. Yes, thank you. Okay, so this one basically talks about the blue carbon. The need to advance the mapping of blue carbon, identify mangrove and seabed restoration needs, and provide an assessment of the blue carbon potential at the regional level. Bridging the ocean decade to the UN decade for ecosystem restoration. While we're also talking about the ocean decade, currently, or as concurrently, the UN also declared this same period too as the ecosystem restoration decade. But all these are not well amplified, in our various countries. So because you can't be talking about the ocean and you're not talking about the ecosystem, because it's one whole gamut. So it tends to engage government partners and local communities to develop participatory subnational and national policy to optimize the role of the blue carbon as a sustainable source of financing and as a generator of economic and social co-benefit. The program, the program will also include capacity development and ocean literacy elements, because without that ocean literacy element, it will be difficult for people to understand how this relates and affects them. Next slide, please. Yes. So this is another very important one, fisheries and IUU in Africa. The illegal, unreported fishing is a big issue. The aim is to identify scientific gap in monitoring IUU fishing, upscale the gathering and analysis of data and information on IUU fishing. This IUU fishing is a very big problem, where these big countries bring their industrial trawlers into the waters of Africa and clear all our fish, and our artisanal fishermen are left with nothing. So it's really critical that this action be really taken seriously, because it will provide knowledge to policymakers, fisheries managers, and authorities to influence decision making. But if you go to coastal communities, you hear a lot of complaint that they go to the sea and they come back empty. Why? Because the big industrial trawlers, flying foreign flags, it's a very complex issue. Come into the IC, and the artisanal fishermen cannot even go there. Even most of them are threatened. They are shot at. So it's very critical that we begin to take action. The design programs particularly to raise awareness about the seriousness of impact of IUU on the artisanal fishing in Africa, for our government to wake up and begin to put the necessary mechanism in place. Next slide, please. Can you hear me? Okay, thank you. Okay. So this one talks about strengthening multi-hazard early warning system and community resilience. So this action aims to close the gap on. So the idea of all this action, this is a general template. So it's not depends on each country with its own peculiarity to now design actions around this. Just like you have a general template for you to fill in, how does it fit you, So countries are encouraged to close gaps on observation between sub-regional sub-regions, develop tools for observing, forecasting, warning anticipated climatic hazard, an operational platform, and the action also will work with policymakers, local communities, and disaster risk management authorities to influence policy and planning for community resilience. It will also contain capacity development and ocean literacy component to increase awareness and understanding of risk and response measure. You see that ocean literacy is reappearing in most of them. Ocean literacy is actually a
Anthony, we lost you there.
Africa, we don't have tsunami, and things like that. But people still need to understand and know.
Anthony?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now.
Okay. Next slide, please. Go to the next slide. Sorry, some internet disruption.
I'm on your next slide. Number
No,
six.
Number 6, is that number 6?
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at.
Ocean observation and forecasting system for Africa.
Yeah, can you see it now?
Yes. Thank you.
Right.
So this action basically talks about ocean observation and forecasting, and we know we are not doing well. Yeah, very few African countries have the capability, have the technology, to do necessary ocean observation. But there are some of these international observation network where countries are encouraged to participate, and they also have the African wing of this. It will address specific needs to develop a network of ocean observation system and regional forecasting modes of ocean circulation to provide baseline information, oceanographic, biogeochemical, including issues such as ocean acidification, is a key issue, and we need to begin to take such action. First of all, because it will be with ocean literacy that people will understand what is issues like ocean acidification, and how does it affect us. Then our government will see necessary to put the necessary monitoring infrastructure in place. Next slide, please.
Your next slide.
I have my next slide. No, it's not showing up for me yet. The digital twin Africa. Okay, maybe it takes, no, okay, it's here now. Okay, I think it takes some time to upload to show my end. Thank you. You know, so this basically talks about establishing an African Ocean knowledge hub. So this action will establish and enhance development of a regional digital twin for Africa for centralizing marine data, modeling and simulation, and all these algorithm best practices. All these are the infrastructure and the knowledge and solution part of the ocean challenge that I spoke about, because you need to have those foundational knowledge before you now understand this and see how this relates to that. So this will provide access to data information required to develop human, environmental, and economic scenarios, addressing issues such as energy, mining, fisheries, tourism, and nature-based solutions. Thus contributing to the knowledge base required for the development of sustainable ocean plans. The action will also involve a strong element of co-design to ensure that the priority data set application and services that were developed as part of the digital twin respond to needs of ocean users. Also, the action will include a specific focus on indigenous and local knowledge. Capacity development will also be integrated into all aspects of the ocean, both in development of digital twin and in the use of application and services. Engagement with actors from technology, innovation sector, and ensure technology is used in a sustainable manner. Next slide, please. For me, this next one is the most critical, um, because this one talks about ECOP, because it's the next generation. The next generation needs to understand where are we right now? What do we need to get to where we want to be, to get to the ocean we want? So for me, that's why I in Nigeria here, I try to tell the committee that this is where we should really focus. While we are doing other things, we should really focus energy on this path to drive the issue and get more of our young people into ocean sciences and exponential, experimental exposures at very early age. So the aim, basically, we all know this, is to develop essential capacity and skills in Africa related to ocean science with a focus on scientific and technical skill of ECOPs. This action will form part of the global ECOP program and will build on the findings of the global survey of ECOP needs and priorities to provide targeted support via the African ECOP Regional Hub. It will include support for short and long-term training, mentorship, professional development program, leadership training, support to engage international policy processes and discussion, a matchmaking service for access to research vessels and infrastructure and other priority elements. So just like part of this webinar that we are doing, it's part of the capacity building, it's part of the mentorship, part of the training. So it's really very key that in our various countries, we really try to strengthen our various ECOPs network to drive, because the way our governments are, it's only issues of election that interest them. If you bring anything scientific, environmental, in fact, they are not there because they don't understand the issues. That's the truth. They don't understand the issues. The people that are there are not scientists, and you have very few scientists in the parliament, for example, you say House Committee on Environment, and you go there, you see that the person heading that committee has no background in environmental sciences. So how will he be understanding and making the necessary laws that will address this thing? So it is we, the ECOP, that will drive and put pressure and put serious pressure on our Ministry of Science, our Ministry of Environment to take the necessary action. Because now we have this great opportunity of this ocean, this 10 years span, to really put these issues in the front burner of national discourse. If we miss this time, like now in Nigeria already, it's already election time. And so much, in fact, governors are stopped. Let me just put it that way. And everybody is campaign here, campaign there. Even Even the decade in other countries, decade committees are funded, our allocation and all of that. But here, we're working on voluntary capacity, use your own time, your own energy, and all of that. So we really need to drive our leaders to begin to do the right things. Next slide, please.
Please, Mr. Akpan, you have 3 more minutes.
No problem. I'll round up. So the last one is the regional ocean literacy program. So like I said, this is cross-cutting program. We promote participatory research and design approach and all of that. So there's a dedicated, even at the UN level, at the global ocean decade coordination level, ocean literacy is a dedicated program because it's cross-cutting, because all the other elements needs that element of education, awareness of the relationship with ocean and human beings and all of that for them to drive those issues. So it's a standalone program, but there's nothing you are going to do if you want people to understand ocean hazard or deep sea mapping and all of that. They need to understand what is the ocean in the first place. How does it relate to me? What is my business? For me, I never really understood. I was like, okay, ocean. I just go to the beach and I put my leg in the water and come out. But when I really sat down to really study all of this, and I don't know, wow, it's so enormous and very important to our lives. So next slide, please.
This is your next slide.
My next slide is the need for ocean literacy.
Yeah, that's
yes.
the one.
Yeah, thank you. So just like I was saying all along, so most people live their lives unaware of how their day-to-day actions impact the health of the ocean, or how the health of the ocean impacts on their daily lives. And particularly in Africa, stakeholders, including the general public, are not aware of the full extent of the economic, social, political, medical, and environmental importance of the sea. Many of us are not aware that our day-to-day actions can have a cumulative effect on the health of the ocean and the sea, a necessary resource that must be protected for all life on planet to exist. In other words, people lack a sense of ocean literacy. That is an understanding of the ocean's influence on us and our influence on the ocean. An ocean literate person understands the importance of the ocean to humankind and can communicate about the ocean in a meaningful way and could make informed and responsible decisions regarding the ocean and its resources. Next slide, please. And that should be the final slide.
This one.
The United Nations. Is it coming up?
Yeah,
United Nations. Yeah.
Can you see it yet?
I think it's coming up. I'm not seeing it. But that's the United Nations decade.
Yeah.
Oceans. Yes, I can see it now. So I made this on the last slide just to reiterate all of the issues, those African actions and the challenges. The focus of the United Nations decade of social science was sustainable development 2021 to 2030 is to develop a global partnership to raise the awareness on the conservation, restoration, and sustainable use of our ocean and its resources, and to build and improve public knowledge based across the world's population regarding our global ocean. An equally transformational part of the decade is about us and our relationship with the ocean. Understanding of the value of the ocean can be nurtured through ocean literacy efforts among diverse stakeholders. So I rest my case here, and I just want to encourage every one of us to keep the flag flying and to keep the fire burning, and collaboratively we will get to the ocean we want in Africa. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Akpan. Thank you for that insightful presentation. So we will, I don't see any questions. Do we have any questions, Natalie? Or do we take them later?
Can I ask a question? I think I have a question for Anthony. Anthony, thank you very much for your very insightful presentation. And I think this will really make light bulbs go off in most of our heads. For those of us who really didn't understand exactly what the ocean decade was, and especially ECOPs from Africa. But the question still remains, what's in it for Africans and for African ECOPs? How can we contribute? And how can the ECOP, how can the ocean decade in turn contribute to improving the condition of ECOPs in Africa in any way possible? I think that's the question which most ECOPs like.
Yeah, that's why. Can you hear me? Thank you very much for the question. That's why we talked about ocean literacy and you understanding. If you go to that slide that we talked about the need for ocean literacy, is we understanding what is it for you, for example, what is it for us? There's so much for us. In fact, we are not giving the ocean anything. We are damaging the ocean, plastic pollution, disregarded fishing gear, chemical pollution, all going to the ocean. Everything from the ocean is for us. Shipping, transportation, tourism, fishing, a major sector, and offshore oil exploration, offshore energy, and all of that. We are getting all that from the ocean. So it's in our own interest. Ocean also serves as a very good base in absorbing carbon, in addressing climate change issues. So everything is in for us. If we look at it from that perspective, what are we getting from the ocean? Leading to the last webinar we had where Ronnie talked about the blue economy. Where's the blue economy coming from? So these are jobs that are going to come from ocean-related activities, most of which are not being harnessed. I think majorly for most of the countries, most of us are not even harnessing shipping, for example. Most of the ships that comes to Africa to carry cargo and all of that are not African-owned ships. These are foreign-owned ships. I remember in my country, we used to have Nigerian shipping line, more than 30 big ships. All those are gone. Politicians have sold them. So this is what is in for us. The ocean is there for us to protect it and harness what all the resources God had bestowed on the ocean for our own benefit. Anyhow you want to look at it, to create jobs for our young people, to create industry and all of that. So everything is in for us. Then you now ask yourself, what is in for the ocean? That is the question I think we should be asking. Because what we are doing to the ocean, we are limiting what we are supposed to be getting. Pollution and all of these things we are causing. And like issues that you talked about the geochemical part of if you read about ocean acidification, once the ocean become acidic, all these fishes are dying, all of these things. So we are getting less. We are getting less. If you measure the at the session, at one of the fishing session during the UN Ocean Conference in Lisbon in June earlier in the year, if they tell you the dollar equivalent of if a country harnesses its fishery sector very well, I mean, which other sector can we be able to employ people? Okay, just if you look at some of our little countries, our artisanal fisher folks, they're not able to get any fish again now. Across the coast of Ghana, Nigeria, Senegal, Gambia, we have some foreign firms that have come there to use their big trawler, bottom trawling fishing, which even they pack from the younger ones, from everything, and they are using it to make fish meal which are exported outside the country. And these are done in connivance with our government. They give them these licenses. So the person that normally wakes up in the morning, go to fish, and get something. If you go to all those places, it's a big problem. Senegambia has Mauritania, Senegal, Gambia. It's a big issue, you know. So places where they could fish. Okay, once you've taken that source of livelihood for them, how do they feed? We know the community nature of the African setup, particularly in West Africa, you know. So the relationship, you cannot longer fish. So what other option is left for you? So everything is in for us. If you understand, that's why I talk about ocean literacy. If people understand what they are getting from the ocean, they will now see the reason why they need to protect the ocean. You know, so that's the major thing. Everything for us to gain and everything for us to lose if we don't take the necessary action.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, so Mr. Anthony, there's a question here for you. So someone is asking, as part of the challenges you outlined, can you suggest on approaches that can contribute to equitable access, like to data, info, and across all aspects of ocean science and stakeholders together?
No, that one is beyond my scope now. The point is, everybody has these are challenges that are there. I'm not what do you call it? I'm not an what do you call them? I'm not ocean data scientist. You know, so those challenges, people in those various sectors. You know, in fact, what we are beginning to do now, that's why we do the ocean literacy is important. What we are beginning to do now is we are beginning to bring in, you know, how do you call it, social sciences into it, because so that people outside science can begin to understand that it also affects them. They are involved because people need to understand it, you know. So those kind of questions, I think we have members that are attending that are data scientists. You know, each of those challenges addresses to some specific hazard mapping, geochemical issues. We have experts in this field. So those experts will be able to suggest appropriate solutions. You know, I'm not an expert in data science management, you know. So I'm an expert in ocean literacy. You know, I'm an ocean in getting people to understand the value of the ocean to them and why we need to protect the ocean. I'm an expert in stakeholder engagement, bringing everybody on to understand why this decade is important, you know, and all of this food. Why? Because it's a stakeholder thing. If you look the last part of what we read in the last part, you know, it says the focus of the United Nations Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Development is to develop a global partnership, and even the SDG number 17 is about partnership. So it's not a one-man thing. It's not a one-sector thing, you know. So everybody needs to come together, bring in your expertise. You know, you are good in this, bring it in. There's something you can do. You are good in dealing with marine pollution, bring in your expertise, bring solutions. You know, so it's not for it's not for a one-man thing. All sectors are relevant, and everybody needs to even economics. Like I mentioned, the workshop I attended in Lisbon, the professor is a professor of fisheries economics. You know, it gives you this analysis, and the way you see it, you'll be so shocked that really is it the same fishery, you know, that they are analyzing like this, how it affects your economy and all of that. Recently, the WTO, World Trade Organization, just what did they do? I think they removed fishery subsidy, you know, from one of their agreements and all of that, you know. So it's something that calls for collective effort, stakeholder engagement. Everybody has a role to play. Whatever your area of expertise is, you know, it goes beyond the formal academic this thing. Whatever way you can use, like apart from South Africa, I don't know any other country that they have aquarium, for example, where young students in primary, secondary school go to visit and begin to understand how ocean lives, mammals, and all these ocean activities, begin to get that and become like, for me, I've not seen any aquarium in Nigeria before, apart from maybe those ones you put in your house. You know, I mean, a real aquarium where you go, you see sea turtle, and all of that, begin to understand ocean life. Those are the kind of things we need to educate our young ones so that, you know, they can really relate and say, oh, really, are these the animals that are in the sea? You know, they can really relate. So that is that relationship. So our data scientists, and other ocean experts in the various fields, because I mean, oceanography is divided into so many areas, you know, chemical oceanography, physical oceanography, human oceanography, and all of that. So we have experts in those areas, and if they look at the challenges, they will know, okay, this is within my area, I can provide one or two solutions. But the important thing is the solution to be relevant to the African context, to the African culture. You know, not just picking up, okay, this is what they are doing in the US. Do we have that kind of capability to sustain that kind of technology? You know, it has to be something that is relevant within our context. And also, you know, there was a part we also talked about what our indigenous knowledge. I mean, people have been existing before we came into the, you know. So what have they been doing correctly before? We also need to tap into those indigenous local knowledge and also not just discarding them and just looking towards the West only to provide a solution. So it's a collective effort.
Thank you very much. I totally agree with you on that. So we will go on to introduce our next speaker, Mr. Gabriel Akoko Juma. He is a PhD student studying coastal ecology at the Alfred Wegener Institute in Germany. He's also a member of the early career ocean professionals, the ECOP Africa. He holds a postgraduate diploma in oceanography from the same institute and holds a master's degree in environmental science from Chuka University in Kenya. He's interested in coastal ecology with focus on the role of terrestrial runoff in the nearshore environment, as well as ocean literacy. And Mr. Juma will be presenting on ECOP Africa, where we came from, and where we are going. So, Mr. Juma, you have the floor now. And please, the same time applies to you. 20 minutes, and I'll interrupt you 5 minutes before time, just to remind you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll just share my slide. You can hear me well?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, okay. I'm trying to remove this and get it on slide sharing mode. Okay, yeah, you can see my slides. Thank you. So I'm going to share on, you know, ECOP Africa, where we came from and where we are. My name is Gabriel, as mentioned, and I know a number of us have been included in you know, the WhatsApp groups, or we've been writing emails here and there. But then we just wanted to highlight on where are we from, where are we, and where we are going to. Will also be given in the next presentation. So just some facts about Africa. If we talk about ECOP Africa, it's an amazing continent and a region, home to the world's oldest university. We have the longest river in Africa. We have some of the tallest and largest animals. It's also, you know, home to the largest, some of the wonders of the earth. But one thing that stands out is Africa has the youngest population in the world, and that is 70% of it, you know, consisting of the young people. And we're wondering, like, if we have 70 being under the age of 30, then where do we find them? So the youth for the ECOPs, some are in the formal and informal education sector, ocean and sports, you know, in fisheries and other aspects of the informal sector. And because if we don't have enough opportunities, then others end up in prisons or in other vices. So the ECOP program in the wake of the UN Decade of Ocean Science was established, that is in 2021, as one of the endorsed programs to elevate and strengthen the diverse perspectives of the new generations of professionals. So in other words, it was established to empower ECOP and strengthen their capacities. And from the definition, we are talking about 10 years of your career program. But again, we always involve many people. And again, we have different task teams that you can visit in the website and see. And then from this, then to be able to address the needs and priorities, as well as specifically focus on capacities for different regions, different nodes were established. So we developed ECOP Africa as one of the nodes. That is in late 2021, with a vision to ensure inclusive and empowered ECOPs in Africa for sustainable oceans during this decade and beyond the decade. And we intending to address this by focusing on the needs and priorities of ECOPs, because different regions have different capacities, capabilities, and challenges. And this would culminate into addressing the ocean decade challenges as well as the outcomes. So our roles in the decade, our roles as ECOPs in the decade, we contribute to scientific research and data generation, support ocean literacy, as the prior speaker has really explained well, and developing tools that enhance exchange or integration of knowledge, enhancing behavioral change by fostering responsible citizenry. So we have different ECOPs, who organize activities such as cleanups, and when the local communities see some of these activities, then they're able to realize that there is something that we can do to be able to enhance ocean conservation even at the local level. And then we also ensure science communication and dissemination of information by highlighting, and engaging these findings on our social networks. So the young people are majorly involved, in the social media realm. And through this, we are able to demystify the scientific findings that we find in the academia. So we also mobilize resources to support ocean decade activities and events, as we've been sharing, and even our current coordinator has been looking for resources. How do we support and empower people? So all these enhance bridging of information gaps and knowledge transfer between generations and within and beyond the decade. And then our goals, long-term goals as ECOP Africa. So we hope to raise awareness and encourage concrete actions towards achieving a sustainable ocean. And this also aligns very well with SDGs 14 and the UN Ocean Decade Agenda. So we do this by building storytelling potentials, developing tools and resources I've mentioned, extending networks beyond the natural science discipline. In other words, we want to involve even the people in the informal sector. So not just people in research and academia, but even fishermen, local communities, local NGOs, CBOs, and bringing all stakeholders together. Also those in policymaking, just to ensure that we go together when it comes to science communication, ocean conservation, and all this. We are also developing partnerships to drive actions through reciprocal dialogue. And the strategic objectives during establishment or in the first phase of ECOP Africa, one was to conduct an inventory of ECOPs, that is the networks or initiatives in the region that support ECOPs as well. To scope options for the development of the node, we also worked on, how do we reach out, who is where, and what are some of the regional gaps, sub-regional gaps, that we could address. Also establishing links with strategic partners such as national decade committees and regional task forces to support ECOP activities. We also, we had an objective to identify challenges and knowledge gaps so that when we have capacity development initiatives, then we could align them properly, with the knowledge gaps and the challenges that ECOPs identified. And then mobilizing resources, I've mentioned both human resources and financial resources to drive our activities and to move the decade agenda, as well as being focal point for linking our ECOPs within the region and beyond the region. So as the ECOP program, we have developed partners, some of the international organizations. These are just a few. Please, sorry if your organization or network is not on the slide, but then these are just some few examples. We've been partnering very closely with IOC Africa and IOC UNESCO, WIAMSA, POGO program, Ocean Teacher Global Academy as part of the IOC UNESCO. And these are international organizations, but as well
Gabriel, I think we lost you.
It is something to make clear is that the ECOP program is just like an umbrella. So we acknowledge that the ECOP networks are existing, and we just work with them to enhance ocean sustainability and ocean conservation. And we are not like, removing any existing network or trying to duplicate, but we just complement one another. And we conducted a survey in which we were able to understand like who are our ECOPs, what are their composition. So we were able to have 228 participants from 87 countries. This was within Africa and beyond, because some of our ECOPs are studying or working in the ocean sector in other countries or in other continents as well. We also were able to identify 82 ECOP networks, and we realized that we have a diverse group in terms of age, in terms of gender, and therefore we are really inclusive as ECOP Africa. And also in terms of respondents by country, which was more or less also representing, by that time, some of the representation or nationalities of our ECOPs. Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya were some of the countries that were leading in terms of number of ECOPs or number of respondents as per our surveys. But then this has grown over time. So this is not like a reflection of now. As you realize, my talk is on where we came from as we move forward. We were also able to identify some of the challenges that our ECOPs face with this survey, in which points like lack of or inadequate training and for membership was one of the aspects, and those difficulties finding a job in ocean-related fields, inadequate funding for research and project activities were there, as well as other challenges such as harassment that were also highlighted. And we are trying to tackle this as we move forward. And also, we realize there are opportunities for ECOPs to participate in the decade. So we realize that most ECOPs are really contributing to the ocean decade outcomes and also addressing the challenges. Another milestone we were able to develop in collaboration with IOC, UNESCO, and WIOSN, the Ocean Decade roadmap booklet that Anthony has really expounded much on that, and it was launched during the 12th WIAMSA symposium. And as mentioned, among the priorities for future decade actions in Africa, you can see that strengthening capacities and skills for African early career ocean professionals is one of the key priorities for IOC Africa and IOC UNESCO, as well as regional ocean literacy programs in Africa. So this shows that ECOP program or the ECOPs are at the center stage, and they're really being given a lot of consideration when it comes to ocean conservation in the region. Other capacity development. So as I mentioned, one of the things that was identified was, inadequate capacity training activities. And therefore, with the funds from Norwegian government, we were able to, undertake 2 trainings. That is, one was given by GOGMI on exploring pathways for vibrant ocean economy for Africa. And the other one was given by IOI from South Africa on basic concepts of ocean governance for ECOPs with focus on African seas. And again, because these are based on funds that we got, we also established the Brigade Initiative or Bridging Knowledge Gap for Early Career Ocean Professionals in Africa. So this is a project or a program where our ECOPs are volunteering, experts in different fields are volunteering to give trainings to other early creation professionals. And one successful training that we had was on ocean color remote sensing and data analysis for ECOPs. This was done in end of June, and now ECOPs who participated are now developing a book that is with insights more relevant for the African region. Also, we are partnering with UNESCO. So this is a call for other ECOPs. I know we are experts in different realms or different topics, and someone needs that knowledge. So if you're happy, please, our coordinator, Anthony, is here. I'm also here still carrying on with coordinating this project, and we are happy to develop more courses. And one thing is that we are partnering with UNESCO, so we'll bring you on board as one of the trainers for such a course. We got applications from all over the world. So this means that these courses are people really need them, and there is high demand for such courses. And the next course is on data management and analysis with R for ECOPs, which we are already developing the course, and we are going to have it from 6th to 23rd of February 2023. And we've also had other activities that due to time I cannot explain everything. We have been represented in a number of conferences. We had a side event during the priority conference for African in the decade that was in Egypt. And we also collaborated with a number of other ECOP networks in other activities. So with that, I think we are so far so good, and I appreciate everyone who has really contributed to all this. And I just encourage us that people need nature, but nature doesn't need people. Those are words of Julia Roberts. So let's work together in conserving our oceans and work closely with the ECOP program team. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thanks for staying within your time. So I don't see any questions for you, but I think I can ask you a question. It was something I wanted to ask the first presenter, but yeah, I can also ask you. So how do you measure your success in ocean literacy?
Thank you very much. I think we have done great work even in ocean literacy. Being also a colleague in the ocean literacy task team, as the ECOP group, we have been able to support a number of aspects for ocean early creation professionals. Number one, we had this art competition that we had for different regions, and Africa was one of the regions that we had. So through this art competition, we are able to enhance ocean awareness. And then again, through one of the things that we are also working on is, for example, the courses that I've talked about, some of them are technical or topic oriented, but then we are also going to develop courses for that are not technical or that are in the social sciences to enhance more on ocean awareness, ocean governance. So these are activities that we are also going to promote in terms of training. And then again, we are working closely with other ECOP networks. For example, we've been working closely with Revamp Rev Network in Nigeria that does a lot of ocean literacy activities. We were in Ghana, and we are trying to bring on board people in the local communities to develop given activities, groups that they can enhance ocean literacy activities. So through training, through supporting local ocean literacy activities, with these mechanisms, we believe that we are going to enhance ocean awareness and ocean literacy in the decade. Thank you.
And if I may come in, sorry, can I also come in to further add about the question you asked about how do you measure ocean literacy? I think once you bring, you know the baseline, you know how the situation is about the ocean or ocean issues in a particular country. So once you begin to speak about it and people are begin to become aware, particularly for example, let me say, we recently had issues of a policy on plastic waste management in Nigeria, plastic waste management specifically. And you see, by the time those kind of policies begin to take root and all those appropriate mechanisms from the grassroots, from the state, begin to take shape, you will see that the plastic ending up in the ocean will be drastically reduced. You know, that's just one example. You see that people begin to take actions differently. For example, Simon, on the plastic issue, people attitude. Now, once they understand that, oh, all the single-use plastic that we are using, we have some countries in Africa that have taken steps in banning those things, you know, single-use cups, all those kind of things that you can easily replace. These are individual decisions by citizens, that you understand that these things find their way to the ocean, and you know the impact on the fish, on the turtle, and all of these things. And people begin to take personal decision to carry water bottle instead of this thing, you know, and things like that. So it's a gradual process, you know. Anything that has to do with behavioral change, it's gradual. But once the government buys in and begin to put in the appropriate laws and legislation that will guide people towards that change, then you notice that change in the society.
All right, thank you so much. So there's a question for you. So someone is asking if you can expand. Someone is asking if you can expand on the term ocean professional. That should be for you, Mr. Juma.
Yeah, thank you very much for the question. Yes, I can just, you know, it's a definition that is not really, you know, hit on the table like this is the exact definition, but then we can just navigate around it as an ECOP or early career professionals is one who self-identified as being early in their career in any field related to the ocean. Yeah, so we are talking about at least 10 years, but then again, we also have ocean enthusiasts that, for example, someone is in governance, because we realize that in our day-to-day life, and especially in Africa, the ocean affects even those who are in, you know, uplands, because if we talk about, you know, sea level rise, at some point it affects everyone, and we are connected in a way. Those who are in upstreams affect those who are downstreams. So we bring everyone on board, and even ocean enthusiasts are encouraged to be part of early career professionals. But we focus a lot in terms of training, in terms of capacity, in terms of activities. Then we focus a lot on those who are in the ocean activities and the ocean sector. And we have all this on our website. Feel free to reach out as well so that we engage in this together. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So next we will be having Dr. Nda. He will be taking us on the general meeting, ECOP Africa, where we are heading. So Dr. Nda is a postdoctoral researcher in shelf sea system ecology at the Alfred Weninger Institute for Polar and Marine Research. He is also the ECOP Africa node coordinator and a former graduate assistant lecturer at the University of Brunei Darussalam. He will be anchoring our next meeting. Please, Dr. Nda, you have the floor now.
Right, thank you very much, Namso, and thank you to Gabriel and Anthony for the excellent presentations. I think you really did a great job to lay the groundwork for everything I'm going to say, so I will not be duplicating anything. And also the fact that we do not have much time left, so I'll be quite fast so that we have time to discuss some of the issues we shall raise and some of the points we shall make. All right, so I'll go very quick to share my slides. Okay, I think I'm there. All right. Can you see my slides already?
No, not yet.
No. Okay.
It's coming up.
Maybe soon.
Yeah.
All
It's
right.
there.
Perfect. All right. Thanks again, Shinamso, for the introduction and for hosting this workshop, this webinar. And so what we'll be talking about today, what I'll be discussing with you today is where we are heading, because Gabriel has taken you through where we come from and where we are presently. So where we are heading is, as you can see, the guy on the left, whether we'll be able to go up those stairs or not, and whether it will be as slow as he is, or maybe it will be fast. But I think we will take it one step at a time, and hopefully we will reach our objectives, what ECOP Africa stands for. All right, so the first thing I would like us to see here is our ECOP Africa organigram, and I think you all can just quickly glance through. And the first part here is the global ECOP program. And then the global ECOP program is subdivided into regional nodes as a form of decentralization and to make for better efficiency, for greater efficiency and effectiveness in reaching out to as many ECOPs and to also be more impactful. And so in this case now of our African node, we envision that having an African node as well would not really lead us to reaching the objectives which we intend to reach. So we also decided to go down for further decentralization, to have sub-regional nodes. For instance, the North African / Mediterranean node, the West Central African node, the East African node, and the Southern African node. And then we also plan to have national ECOP nodes, which will be directly responsive to the sub-regional nodes. And in addition to those nodes, we have the executive organs of the ECOP Africa. And the executive organs will be made up of the media and communication organ, internship organ, fundraising organ, outreach and capacity development organ, and general ECOP membership. And so the idea for this is that we have various expertise in our ECOP, and I was shocked when I joined the ECOP as the African coordinator to see how much expertise we have in marine and oceanographic fields. And so it dawned on me that we do not really lack expertise and knowledge per se, as I previously thought, but that we just need to be more organized and that we have everything we need to move our vision, which is to empower ECOPs to become better ocean stewards in the future towards the ocean we want in Africa. And so these various expertise we have in the ECOPs who constitute the executive organ will now be able to better target, because of their expertise, to better address some of the issues which we'll try to solve, the issue of capacity development, and also, and the very important one, which is the issue of communication and media, dealing with the media, how to make our voices heard, how to make sure that the programs we would carry out do not just end up in a report somewhere without anyone knowing about them. So we need somebody who has expertise in these issues, in this particular field. And then there's the fundraising organ. And because our main target is to become not just an ECOP Africa node where ECOPs come to sit and discuss ECOP issues, but to be impactful. And for that to happen, we need to have a sustainable funding scheme. And for that to happen, to have a sustainable funding scheme, it means we need to identify people who would be providing to our future ECOP Africa fund. And so that whatever projects which we will develop in the future, we would not need to stay for months and even years looking for someone to provide funding for those projects. So we're talking about, in this case, as you can see in our motto, self-reliance and empowerment. So having said this, I will just try to reiterate what Gabriel had mentioned earlier and what Anthony had also hammered on in the first presentation. And that is the aspect of outreach and capacity development, which is very important because for us ECOPs, there's still a lot we need to learn, and there's still a lot of technical skills we need to acquire. And so all of this together, somebody asked a question to Anthony in the first presentation, what kind of recommendation he can make to solve the problems which he outlined. And he rightly answered the question that it's not just one person who can provide these answers, but all of us working together with our various skills and expertise. And so that's what we are trying to do here with regards to capacity development, to give ECOPs the capacity to be able to provide those solutions in their little environments, in their little communities where they find themselves. And such little actions will contribute to having a global impact. And so that's what we in ECOP Africa are striving for. Okay, so one of the things which we would, and which we are already doing, and Gabriel correctly mentioned that, is our networking, the need to increase our membership base. And to this, I would say that this is, personally, I think this is one of the best things that has happened to Africa for a long time. The fact that us young people can come together and talk and discuss issues that concern Africa and try to design solutions by ourselves. And this unity is what we need in order to move the Ocean Decade's objective in Africa forward. And I think this will not only limit itself to Ocean Decade, but it will limit itself to every other aspect of African life and African prosperity. So in this case, I'm looking at the ECOP becoming a pathway for Africans, young Africans, to start talking to each other and to start devising plans to improve our situation without necessarily needing to think that others must come to do it for us, like it's been the case for such a long time. And so, but we know that we cannot do all of that by ourselves. We know that we still need partners. We need partners in Africa. We need partners amongst ourselves. We need partners from abroad as well. So networking is a very important component of our ECOP program. And looking for partners doesn't mean being purpose. No, we are looking for partners who work with us towards achieving objectives that will have a global impact. So at this stage, Gabriel has done a fantastic job in already reaching out to some very important partners, and some work is already going on with regards to capacity development. And we are looking forward to reaching out to other partners, especially those who can provide us the funds we will need to carry out our projects within Africa. And I have already reached out to some of them, and we'll see how that leads. I think we'll be discussing that as we move forward, especially now that we already have a platform in our WhatsApp group where we already discuss and get together. All right, so now there's also other partners which we have already made contact with and who are very keen on working with us. And right now we're just trying to work out how this partnership will go. There's the BFN, the Biodiversity, German Federal Agency for Nature Conservation, and there's the, yeah, this one is very interesting. That's why I highlighted it in red, because they are developing, they have a project right now in Africa, in Southern Africa, to develop biosphere reserves. And it's been generally more focused on marine, on terrestrial biosphere reserves, but with our collaboration with them, they are very happy to move to the marine realm, where they would also try to develop marine biosphere reserves. And we know that in Africa, we really do need marine biosphere reserves. We have very few going on in terms of marine conservation and the establishment of marine protected areas and stuff like that. And so we would really benefit a lot from working with the BFN on this. And we'll be discussing further in the coming months with regards to this particular program. Then there's the ecosystem, global ecosystem ocean solutions, which I recently got into contact with, and they're also very keen to work with us, especially in areas of capacity development when it comes to low carbon, ocean carbon. And so we will be designing courses and also some training programs on with these various partners. And then there's the International Ocean Color Coordinating Group, who are also very keen to work with us. And we'll also be developing programs that will help ECOPs who need skills in ocean color remote sensing, and in particular ocean color remote sensing for fisheries management, which I believe we truly need. And then one of our core programs will be sustainable capacity development. And so how do we tell that the capacity development, our capacity development is sustainable? I think that's the basis of Chinamso's question. How do we measure that? So the idea would be that we do not just learn and study and get technical skills, but we put them into practice. So we have 3 components to this. First, learning by doing. So we will organize joint projects and we'll identify young ECOPs who have expertise in specific fields who would run these projects, but across all the countries in Africa who are represented presently in our ECOP network. So one of them will be an inventory of African traditional knowledge for ocean and environmental sustainability, past, present, and future lessons, and lessons for the future. So what are some of those, what is the knowledge base when it comes to ocean conservation and sustainability in Africa? As long as we can find, we would have a database for that. And then there's the inventory of marine fish species and their trends across Africa. So we need to have an inventory. What are the different species we have in our waters? What are their local names? And what are their trends? So that's also very important. And this is something which we truly lack in Africa. And some countries do have, but we need to have a database for this where the information is readily available for any form of research. Because without this, how do we even know whether we are improving or we are moving backwards in terms of our blue economy objectives? Then there will be the inventory of Africa's blue carbon. What are those sources of blue carbon in Africa? And how much do we have? And what is their current state in terms of whether they're increasing, the blue carbon capacity is increasing or decreasing? And this is also where we will work together with GEOS, hopefully. And then we need to develop, develop a digital repository for ECOPs and ocean governance stakeholders in Africa. So we need to have a digital database where we can easily go in and find the different ocean stakeholders or different components of the marine system. So, and then we need to develop this harmonized methodology for regional marine assessments so that we can easily compare results. If we do not have a harmonized methodology, we cannot compare results. Now, this is critical because at this point in time, we can all come together as ECOPs in Africa, and we can develop this so that no country can decide to do one thing, and then the other country does another thing, and in the end, there's either duplication or there's a mixture of methods that cannot easily be compared. So that's why I said that this is a revolution. We are living in a revolutionary time, a time when young people are beginning to wake up, a time when young people are beginning to realize that the world of tomorrow belongs to them. And if we don't do anything now, tomorrow we would live in hell. So, and what happens to the ocean now is critical to our future. So the next aspect of our capacity development is learning by sharing. So this is already what Gabriel has described. And ECOPs who have technical skills, machine learning, GIS, remote sensing, all of that, they would provide training to those of us who do not have these skills. And then we have external partners who provide also training programs. And what we're trying to do presently until we start designing courses, which maybe our foreign partners will come in to help us with, is that we try to find ongoing training programs and try to get ECOPs to go in for those programs. But the capacities are always very limited so that most ECOPs do not usually have the chance to get into those programs. So we want to start developing ours for ECOPs in particular. And a very important program which I recently have been talking to someone about is on the blue economy jobs in Africa, blue economy opportunities. There are Africans who are actually already setting up blue businesses. So we need to identify them and bring them into organizing training courses on how they came about those ideas and how they've been able to successfully develop their businesses. I think this is very critical. This is something which we would not find in any classroom. People who already know and who are doing the thing on the ground, training those who would like to aspire to be like them. So that's an important aspect of our capacity development program. And with that, I would say we would continue the discussion. We'll continue the discussion in our WhatsApp group. We'll continue the discussion in the near future as we'll be organizing more meetings. And so the floor is open now for us to just discuss some of those points which I have enumerated. And so if you would like to comment or say something to this, I think you can just raise your hand and Chinomso can locate you. Yeah, thank you.
Should I see any hand from my end? Okay, yeah, I see a hand. All right, please go on, Mr. Wan.
Thank you very much, namesake Anthony. I mean, the diagram you showed was very, 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 very explicit and very clear. I mean, just like we shared sometimes back. I mean, that's just the way to go. You know, because of the peculiarity of the various regions or the continent. You know, it's good we have that subdivision of west, east, south, then the national nodes. You know, that is very, 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 very welcome. So I just wanted to just to comment on that. That's very welcome. Thank you.
Thanks, Anthony.
Okay, so there's a question here. Someone is asking if the WhatsApp group is open to everyone.
Yeah, the WhatsApp group is open to everyone who identifies as an ECOP in Africa. But I would also, I think Gabriel tried to give a definition of who an ECOP is. And he gave the definition which I would also give. And in ECOP Africa, we try to be as inclusive as possible, not to limit ourselves to early career researchers, but to have people who are already working, whether in government or non-governmental organizations, but also people who are working in every aspect of the marine field, marine environment, whether you are a fisherman or you are a boat constructor, or so long as you're doing any activity that has any links or any bearing on the marine environment, I think you're welcome to attend to become a member of ECOP Africa. So the membership is open, and there's a form to the membership form to fill. And the moment you fill that form, your WhatsApp details are there. You'll be added to the WhatsApp group as soon as possible. So we will, I think if you go to my LinkedIn page, you'll find the form there. And if you want, I can also just put the link here, but that will mean that I would have to stop sharing my slides. So yeah.
Okay, someone wants to ask a question. Please, if you can't type it in, can you unmute and ask your question? If you can hear me.
I was going to say, if somebody wants to unmute to ask a question, I have to allow them to talk as a panelist. So if you tell me which person you'd like me to unmute, I can bring them onto the stage to ask their question.
Okay, that's Bahanet, I think.
Do they have their hand raised at the moment?
Nope, I can't see any hand from my end.
Okay.
So please just raise your hand, or you type your question in the Q&A. I think there are some questions in the Q&A already. All right, okay. So I've just pasted a link to. Yeah, he says his hand is up, but can you see?
Yes, I can see it now, so I should be able to allow him to talk and unmute. Okay. So if you just give me 1 second.
All right, Samuel.
Hello. Yes, this is Samuel. Thank you so much for the presentation, Dr. Anthony. It has been very insightful, and I was really following your presentation. But I noticed a little was highlighted about the internships. For someone who is still a student, who is an ECOP, as a master's student as I am, issues of opportunities in the blue economy as well as, let's not even go into jobs, but I'm even talking about having experience, okay, having on-site experience in this ocean profession is something. And then I know we are just starting as an African node, but I would hope that moving forward, when policies are put together for the African ECOPs, let's try and find more opportunities for internships for ECOPs, because I was checking one of the websites you put out there on Pogo, right? And I noticed that there is a scholarship for most times it happens for summer internships where there are shipboard training. For example, if you are into oceanography and your field is in physical oceanography, you are looking at trying to build yourself in ocean observation, let's say in situ observation. So you should be able to use some of these tools as well. So if your curriculum doesn't really help you do that, I know there are programs 6 months, 6 weeks, 4 weeks on board that they take students out to sea on research vessels. They train you, give you. So I would hope that some of those trainings, I saw one and it was quite interesting, but the application deadline is already over. So I would hope that moving forward, we'll also try and put some of those things across. For me, I'm doing my master's in China, which I'm going this week. But I would like that on vacations, I should be able to take summer vacations or summer internships somewhere else to have this hands-on experience. Because in oceanography, we also need experience so that when we complete school, we can have something to hold on. So this is what I would like to put across. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Samuel. Yeah, I think your point is a very good one. And we have that in mind. We have that in mind. That's why we thought of having this in-house training programs. But you talked about internships. Yes, I also had that. That's why I put it purposefully in the organigram. We should be able to identify organizations. And that's what I'm trying to do with the partners which I'm contacting now. Those partners of ours, I'll try to get them to accept some of our ECOPs who would like to do internships. So once because we are still in the process of talking, and I'll see how much I can put into our future work together with those partners. And I believe internships are very important. And so young ECOPs like yourself, you need that training by doing within specific organizations. And so we will try to do that. And also even within Africa. And there's the Gulf of Guinea Maritime Institute. I think you're a fellow of their program right now. And we also would try to get them to accept interns, ECOPs who would like to just work and do some hands-on work with them with regards to maritime security and other courses which they might want to train the ECOPs on. And with that, we would need funding. That's why we need this sustainable funding scheme to really take off. And yeah, so all of these things have to go on together. That's why we have this organigram with all the connections. And we hope that in the coming months, it would really have taken shape. Yeah. I think Gabriel's hand is up.
Yeah, thank you, Anthony. I just wanted also to help in addressing a few questions or suggestions that are on the box, on the chat box. For example, yeah, Barney is suggesting that expertise is not the problem, but the platform to, be able to accommodate everyone. And there is something that we are working on, as Anthony has mentioned. We are looking into, strengthening sub-regional nodes and national chapters as well. So with the training opportunities or training demands that are there for different courses, if you are an expert, we are developing, this concept where we will know that we have these experts, and not just in training. It doesn't have to be technical, even speech or representing ECOPs in a given place. Then we can have you on board, and then we understand there are courses that can be relevant for the whole of Africa. Others will be specific in certain sub-regions and even within the country. And we are in contact with IOC Africa so that we can be giving these even to the universities. So we are working on a platform such that we're going to have a good structure through which you can even deliver some of these courses to at national level or even at local level. And again, as we mentioned, someone needs it and someone will appreciate. So we are working towards enhancing that everyone at least contributes and develops on something. We, as a question that was also asked, we will publish the calls on the website, and we will also share with you on emails. We will share with you on the social media network. So information sharing is one of the agenda, and with Anthony, as he is happy to take all questions. Natalie is also here, our communication director, and feel free to share your ideas because we'll be happy to put this into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabriel. Yeah, that's very good. You touched on
I can see we have a couple of other hands up as well, if you're happy for me to bring them on stage to ask their questions too. Will do. Zumo, I'll bring you off mute now.
Okay, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, yeah. Well, first of all, thank you so much for this meeting. I found it very enlightening. This is the first time I'm really getting a clear view and clear insight of what ECOP Africa is all about and what we are doing, where we are going, and so on and so forth. So, especially Antoninda, thank you so much for that, and everyone who has presented. I wanted to, it's more like it's a question and also a comment. I don't know, do we have, let's say, social media handle, for instance, on something like Twitter? For instance, is there a handle for ECOP Africa? Is there a hashtag we use? Because I think these are, especially, amongst us young people, in quote, these are things that we easily relate and communicate to. So when we have activities like this, and even for each individual, I'm currently doing my master's in Cape Verde. So for activities that I may engage in, or even activities that others like me may engage in, we can publish these things online on the social network, create a buzz, using those hashtags or tagging those accounts. And I feel these things are all important in terms of creating that awareness, because it's, as you said, Anthony, it is very important that we gather as many people as possible within the African region to be part of this, because that would mean that would expand the capacities of ECOP Africa as a whole, because we have more people who can do many more things and many different things in different places. So that's just what I want to ask. If it is, then I think we should know what they are. And if there isn't one, I think we should start working on having one. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Zuma. That's a very good suggestion, and we are working on having all channels of communication open. And for now, we are still working, but we have our global ECOP program, which has a lot of communication channels, including even a YouTube channel. And we regularly repost this on our WhatsApp group so that our members can not only see some of the recent televised events, but also to subscribe to the YouTube page, the YouTube channel. Concerning Twitter, I think we also have a Twitter handle, if I'm not mistaken. I think Kenya or Natalie can say a little bit more to that. We have for the Global ECOP program, but we do not yet have for ECOP Africa. And like you say, we have to work towards that. Yeah. And that's why we have we've given a prominent position to communication and outreach in our organigram. So for the people who take up this position, they would be the ones who have expertise in social media and other forms of communication, both at the national and international levels, because we want to reach out to even those people who do not have access to internet, but who can listen to the radio. And so we would like the national radio stations to know about ECOP through the national nodes. And so we would explore all of those channels. And we are in the course of doing that. Yeah. I hope your question was answered.
Yes, it was. Thank you very much.
We have another question as well from Sebastian. So Sebastian, I'll bring you onto the stage too.
Yeah, hello. Hope you can hear me. Yeah, okay. Thank you very much for the webinar and the meeting. I had a lot of insight into what has been discussed so far, especially the last presentation that has to do the way forward for ECOP Africa and the organogram we have. Now, and one thing that somebody mentioned, which we have even an office for it, is internship. Now we have, the ocean is more dynamic as relating to the earth itself or the land base, which is easier to do whatever you want to do on land than on the ocean. So, and it's a bit expensive to work on the oceans and with the oceans. So when it comes to internships, I realized one thing that companies are doing, because some of the internships you want to do, you need some form of licenses. For example, if you want to go on a vessel, you might need survival license, you might need health check, and there's a lot of those things that goes into that. I just want to say, just as you mentioned earlier, we would need to get more partners into this to be able to get some of these licenses for our researchers to be able to have. Some of the licenses expire so quickly. Some can take us very far. I am a hydrographer, and most of the time, if you want to work on vessels, you need a lot of licenses to be able to work on them. So if we can also work into detail in terms of getting enough partnership with these companies and getting them to get involved in this, because some of the companies don't want to take the internship because they don't want to train you, spend money on you. At the end of the day, you are gone. And so it's becoming a bit difficult in those areas, most especially for ocean professionals to have internships in. So I don't know whether we would have some plans for Africa and get some institute to get a support from, maybe from UNESCO or whatever, to be able to support this in terms of internship. And my second issue is not an issue, but just want to ask whether we, or if it is possible, you mentioned earlier in the last presentation, if we can create a repository of most of the ocean-related researches that had already been done, and then also that is ongoing, so that we can have our young researchers have references to this, read them, and get to know more about what has already been done and what is there. So we can interlink with all these things, and it becomes easier for us to share very good knowledge in terms of Africa. I mean, there's one question I've always asked, not the whole of the coast of Africa or coastal nations have been properly mapped and stuff. We have a lot of things that if we have a repository that has all these things, it's easier for us to be able to share data, just as you mentioned. And the last one is to also, I don't know whether we have outreach programs to below the BSc level, where we have maybe secondary school and staff that will be, I mean, catch them young, will be more interested in the ocean related, that can help with campaigns, with cleanups and stuff, programs like that. So these are some of the things I think I just want to contribute to the great presentations that have been done. Thanks so much.
All right, thank you very much, Sebastian. And yeah, I think you raised some really pertinent points. And with regards to internships, yeah, we cannot really do this if we do not get into those partnerships. Yeah, that's why we really want to push this forward, get as many partners as possible who can provide us, our ECOPs, with internship opportunities. Yeah, so we can even have the funding, but we don't have access to the companies or the organizations that can provide this kind of training in the form of internships. So, but through partnerships and MOUs, I think that's possible. And to your second question, you notice I listed a few inventories which we would be going for. And those are just a few highlighted. And it's also good that you gave us this suggestion to do an inventory of ocean-related research that has been done in Africa. I think it's very important that we have these databases so that young Africans, young ECOPs can just click and find a list of the work that has been done on different aspects of the ocean. So that's also very important. And the last thing you mentioned, yeah, about reaching out to schools and the younger ones. Yeah, we have a very very detailed program for ocean literacy. And I'm also beginning to work with some of our vibrant ECOPs. For instance, I think Chris is here with us. his main passion is ocean literacy, and he has been doing this in Nigeria for quite a while. And so we'll be working together with these ECOPs who are passionate and who are really into the field, into specific fields of oceanography and ocean-related issues to develop, I would say, a blueprint for Africa when it comes to ocean literacy. And that's something which I think I was talking to Chris 2 days ago, I think, or yesterday, and he already sent me something which we will start working on. And I believe that once we get a first draft of this going, I think we'll be sharing that and getting everyone involved in this. What we want to do is to get everyone in ECOP Africa involved in everything that is done, so that we would be well assured that that no one is left behind and that every nation counts. And so we would not also want for the landlocked countries, the few landlocked countries, because in general in Africa we have more coastal nations than landlocked countries. We would not want the few landlocked countries to feel left out. So they are also invited. They are also invited to participate in ECOP and also be part of this I'll call revolution that is happening, and that young people like us will be moving Africa to the next decade and even the next century. So yeah, basically that's it with regards to your question, and I thank you for these pertinent questions.
I can see we have one more hand raised, which is Berhane. So Berhane, I'll bring you off of mute.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you for the very insightful and enthusiastic presentation. And yeah, thank you for everything. Yeah, my concern is actually very much personal. What I think is, I think this ECOP can play a great part in Africa. Actually, I'm from Eritrea, a country in the Horn of Africa. So currently I'm studying my PhD in China. My concern is, like what I mentioned earlier, Africa doesn't lack this insightful expertise, but the problem is the platform, genuinely. So I think as ECOPs now, I would like you guys to think of like creating a platform. How do we create a platform? You know, so many things have been done, but sometimes like when you go to your own country, for example, if I go from here to China to my country, Eritrea, then I find nothing there. That's what is taking so many expertise away from these ocean studies. If you ask me what I do in the Red Sea, Eritrea has a very like long coastal line. It's a small country, but nothing is being done. So that means we have to talk about putting a ground first, where we can land, where we can just like put our legs, and then we can walk. So I think that's a very main concern. And other thing is, we have also to be like you guys have mentioned it, like we have to like strengthen the self-reliance. Sometimes we Africans, sometimes like we always have this mentality kind of status of dependence, you know. When you go to a lecture, when you go to a seminar, when you go somewhere, then you always think like you are depending on someone to do something for you. But we have to change that stat, especially for this young age, like individuals, you know. So you have to think of getting yourself as someone who can provide something. We have to start that reality now. You know, you guys are experts now. You've been telling us so many things to do. That means that you playing your part, and we have to think that way. And the very last point I want to raise is, I think the very main challenge also remains to be in the government and policy making. of a country. Even though as an Eritrean, I can think of so many things, but what does the government say? What's the interest of the government? Does the government see the insights like what I see? So what can I do to convince the government? You guys are raising so many things. So as part of the self-reliance, I think it has to depend on the government and policy making of Africa in general. So what's the status of these governments? What do they want? So if they want something, then that means we have to play a part in that something. If they are not playing anything, if they don't put any platform for us, then there is no reality there to do something. So I think, sorry, I just like wrote so many points. Anyway, thank you so much. It has been very didactic and very enthusiastic. I really appreciate it. And then for the coordinator, thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much, Berhan. And I like your enthusiasm. It's actually contagious, and I think we feel the same way. And we feel the same way because we've traveled a little bit. We've been to other countries. We've seen how things are done. And when we go back home, it's a disappointment. And so what you say, it's the absolute truth. And you talked about the platform. Yeah, the platform is what we are trying to build now. And I mentioned earlier that, I mean, throughout my years growing up, I've never belonged to any platform where I talk to Africans, other Africans of my age group and even younger, like we have now. So this is an opportunity which we should not miss. And talking about self-reliance, we have to make sure that this ECOP stays and stays forever, because this is an opportunity for us to be united and in a united front, and with the power that comes with numbers, we can really get things changed in Africa. No matter how recalcitrant or stubborn some of our governments can be, but once they see the power that we have as a population of ECOPs speaking in one voice, I think they'll be forced to adjust. Yeah, so we have that ability to do these things. We need to empower ourselves. And you talked about a change of mentality. Yes, we need a lot of that. And I believe that we have that opportunity as well, as we're talking to like-minded people, as we're talking to people like you, other young Africans, other young ECOPs will be listening, and they'll be like, yeah, we can do this. Yeah, we can think like this. We are not dependent. You know, that's also a form of empowerment. So I believe that we have now this opportunity and we should take advantage of it. And we should contribute as much as we can to this ECOP program and keep it going for as long as possible, if not forever, because as younger people are coming in, as we grow older, younger people will be coming in. And we should really make sure that as we become older, we should also be able to continue supporting with regards to our skills, our knowledge, and even financially. So that's one thing which in the near future, I would really like to push forward, that as we grow older, we should be able to continuously support this program, not just look for funding from others, but we can also contribute ourselves some funding to help in some of these programs. I think some of us have the capacity to do that, and we'll have to really come together and decide on how to go about that. I've been reaching out to some potential financiers in Africa, and so far, we are still hoping that they would be able to do something. And we do not want to limit it to this. We should also, we talk about self-reliance. Yes. As we get further into our careers, we should also be able to help those who are coming from behind, sponsor some young ECOPs to attend conferences and also attend some internship programs and things like this. We can put that in place. So thank you very much for your comments. And we have the ability to make a change now. The government will have to adjust, seeing the power that ECOP will bring, especially the power in numbers and the knowledge which we bring to bear on in the area of the marine and blue economy, and even in our political lives in Africa. All right, thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Great. I can see that we have a couple of other hands up for questions, but I'm also conscious I think we're originally planning to run to 1:30. So happy to bring people to continue on the stage if you'd like, or would you prefer for people to email with the questions afterwards?
Yeah, I think Connor, I think we should just try to get everyone to ask their questions as briefly as possible, and then we can also provide very brief responses, and then we can continue that in the WhatsApp group. And we'll be organizing some internal meetings very soon. So you shouldn't worry if you really cannot put your questions across this time. We would have the platform for everyone to say something and contribute.
Okay, I'll bring on the final two people with their hands raised now, but as Anthony said, if people could keep their questions brief and answers brief as well. So Funkai, I'll bring you off mute now.
Okay. I think you can unmute and maybe contribute. Maybe while waiting, we should take Anthony.
Okay, thank you very much. I just wanted to add on to your response to the comment shared by our Eritrean brother. I mean, that was very, very concerning. Once those platforms that we are building are on ground, part of the responsibility of the platform will be to interface and engage through advocacy with our various governments in our various countries, to put the right policies that will safeguard the ocean and improve the ocean, So it's not just about training and capacity building, advocacy to bring that political change, to bring that political will. At the point of the time we're talking about, we shared an article about the need to begin to advocate for a ministry of the ocean. So those advocacy efforts will be driven by our various country platform, supported by the regional platform, and supported by the continental platform. So if all of these voices is directed towards our various countries, the government will begin to see the need and why those actions are necessary. I just wanted to add that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anthony. Yeah, that's a very good point. So I think Connor, you can bring in the next person who has a hand raised. I think Funke probably. Okay, yeah, I think it's here now. Sorry, Funke, we can't hear you. I think it's having a problem with the sound system. So maybe we go to the next person, but please just type your question in the chat. And if you're in the WhatsApp group already, we can also continue the chat there. If not, I've posted the link in the chat here. You can register and you'll be added to the WhatsApp group as soon as possible.
No problem at all, Anthony. I'll bring on the next person to the stage, which is Mahamoud.
Yes, Anthony, thank you very much. I'm here for your presentation. It's very nice. Although I came late, I never catch some presentation. It was my bit delayed. So I appreciate that presentation should become via a mailing list, or maybe we can receive as a mailing list or through a mailbox as our email. Actually, I'm very much excited to join some such as this program for the earlier career or professional career. Actually, as you mentioned, you know, the oceans, it is our life. And this is responsible for all of us, not only for one individual or the government or NGOs or whatever. It is a collective responsible for all people who are maturely understand what is the benefit of ocean from human beings, where we can get our oxygen, where we can get where we can get our transport, the shipping, where we can get our livelihood, where I can get the nutrition purposes. So all this ocean is, let me say, it is completed depend on the life of human beings. So in order to sustain that or to continue to conserve and that potential value, most important is to conduct, let me say, integrated coastal zone management, ICZ8, that it can cover the all ocean activities when it comes to the conservation and management, when it comes to the production and management, when it comes to the fish stocking or bringing back the lost species of aquatic species that they can bring back also. So, in my suggestion is let us sorry, I interrupted. So my suggestion is let us to have in each country integrated coastal zone management modules that can disseminate the entire community from the grassroots level as a community, as indigenous level, to the district level, to professional level, to the national level, and also to endorse amend as a policy level. That was my suggestion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mahmoud, and a very, very important contribution. And my background is integrated coastal management, and I believe Chinomso as well. So we are very excited for this contribution. we would really want to push this forward. And we also understand the political and the policy challenges we would face to make this happen in Africa. But I think, like I mentioned earlier, we have that ability now to push ideas like this forward. Ministry of the Ocean across Africa, integrated coastal management implemented across all African states. I think that should be a vision which we can dare to have. So so we can try to push that now at the level of our individual countries from our central ECOP Africa node. Yeah, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I can see one final hand up from Giselle. If we're happy to take one last question, Anthony.
Yep, please.
Yep.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much to give me the floor. I want to thank all the presenters. The presentations were really insightful, and I'm so happy for this opportunity to share amongst ECOPs Africa. I think that ECOPs is a good opportunity to connect and to really have an impact. And I was very happy when Anthony said by our number and the knowledge we bring in, we will be able to have a voice at the level of the government, because really we have to bring in or to have the political buy-in in the process for us to really create a global impact at the level of Africa. And another thing I wanted to say, somebody talked about internship, and I wanted to make a suggestions concerning internship. Maybe we can start sharing information about organizations local organization or international organizations that offer internship so that others can benefit. And I want just to start talking about the Nansen, that vessel. There we can really be trained in the fishery sector, but to get there, it's not always easy to get there. So we can, as ECOPs, we can see how to find a way to have a collaboration with the Nansen, so that people can go there and get the training in the fishery sector. That was my comment. I'm very happy for this opportunity, and I want to say thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Giselle. And that's the purpose of our going into partnerships. And I would also like to thank you for proposing this, and we'll look into it to see how we can come into a formal agreement with the Nansen, so that they can always probably, every time they have some form of internship, they can have at least a place or two for ECOPs from Africa. I think that would be a very nice thing to do. And yeah, I think I would like to thank all of you as well. And I would just like to mention one thing. But before I do that, I think there's one question. Tarek asked the question to know how do we secure the funding to implement the plans we have. Yeah, I think that's a very important question, Tarek. And I think at the level of the ECOP program, there's some funding that's allocated from time to time to fund very promising projects. And so if you have a proposal written, which would have an important impact, maybe you should just send it over, and we can look at it. I think I can forward it to the global ECOP coordinator, and then we'll see if there's a possibility for funding. And yeah, there's projects that have already been funded with regards to capacity development, and now there's a course that is going on in the Gulf of Guinea Maritime Institute, and that course was funded by ECOP. So yeah, there are possibilities for that, and there are also possibilities for us now that we have a platform. We can publicize projects that have potential, and we can find potential funders for such projects. So it's all about having a platform and being able to push your ideas across to the people who can provide you the support. So there's all of these avenues open to us now. So if you have a project, don't hesitate. You have people to talk to, and even sometimes you might want to develop a proposal further. I think we have a program right now. I wanted to start a kind of activity in our ECOP WhatsApp group, where I find a project, a program that provides funds for specific projects, and bring it across to the ECOPs, and find interested ECOPs, and also to guide them in the process of writing their proposal. We had one in fisheries management, and right now we are still struggling to see how they would come about with their proposals. And we can do that. Yeah, we talk about opportunities, training and internship opportunities. Yeah, we are already struggling to do that as well in ECOP, to provide as many opportunities out there as possible, which we come across from our various networks, and put the information across to the ECOPs, them to apply. Yeah, and right now I'm participating in the Gulf of Guinea Maritime Institute course on the blue economy, and it's an amazing opportunity, and I'm learning a lot. But also there's also like things which we will have to improve, a lot of things to improve in this regard, and we'll be discussing that further as we move forward together. And I would just like to remind you that we are not at this level, and knowing the state of things in Africa. We are not planning to be just a platform that sits and talks. We would be an activist platform. We would want for the national ECOPs to go out and start doing stuff, reaching out to people, reaching out to the younger ones, reaching out to those who do not know that we need to conserve the oceans, advocacy, literacy, and every aspect you can find that can raise awareness and bring visibility to ECOPs. I think you're encouraged to go about that. And with that, I think we can really, we can have the ocean which we want and make the vision of the ocean decade a reality. All right, thank you very much. I think we come to an end. We continue the discussion. We'll have as many meetings as possible. Yeah, so thank you very much. And thank you, Chinomso, for coordinating this, and Connor, Natalie, for your great efforts to get this done. It's been a great success, I believe. Thank you all. So Chinomso, you have the last one.
Okay, so thank you to everyone who has stayed with us till this moment. I'm sure you must have connected with us on all our social media platforms, so that if there's any other meeting, you would definitely hear about it. So with that, we say good night, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. All right, bye.
Chinomso, I don't know if Evgenia, who is our global coordinator, would like to say a final word.
Okay.
If she is in the position to do that.
Yeah, I'm here. I hope you all can see me. Yeah, I would just like to thank all the organizers and all our wonderful audience, because it was really a pleasure. And I see that our African Node coordination unit and the community in Africa as a whole is growing really in a great way. And I was very happy to hear all the questions and comments. And I think it was a very insightful and inspirational webinar, and we hope to continue with those. And we are very open, and we will do our best to support ECOPs in Africa with all the possible training and funding opportunities. Really great discussions. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Evgenia. All right, so with that, I think we say bye.
All right, bye.
Yeah, see you all next time.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Connor.